Hello, today we're going to take a look at the building permits application. It's one of the general government modules that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the courthouse, and that's going to bring up the different modules that we have under the general government. The general government modules, they use one database of names and parcels, and the building permits and code enforcement and licenses and all these applications use that underlying database. Let's first take a look at that. One is our master directory of names. With the Assist software, you can start keeping one database of names and addresses. So as an example, if somebody calls you, you can look up that person and you can see all their involvements. So if you've got a quick question and you know a little bit about their name, you can get to their record, and on one screen you're going to be able to see everything about that person, such as, do they have any property tax bills? If you click on any one of these, it'll take you to the detail for that tax bill. Are there any code violations, building permits, or licenses? So just by knowing the name, you're able to get to all of their different records. They can also come into the counter, and if they know their name, we can also bring in all the balances. So that's one part of the database. The other one is what we call land management. And this is actually a directory in your database of all the parcels in your community. And so we've got lots of different ways to look it up. So if you know the property identifier, the address, the legal description, who owns it, how it's zoned, several different combinations to search the database. But once you find the one that you want to look at, we have a place to store everything about that property. So we know, most importantly, who the owner is. And that's going to become important for a code enforcement or a building permit. But we also have all that other information on the property, how many buildings, what's the valuation. We have the legal description. As I mentioned before, we can even track information on the physical structure. Typically what happens is most of our customers have us bring in a file from the county, so that you start with a database of all the names and addresses, who the owners are, and customers get that on support, so that if the county changes, you're able to constantly update your database with current information. So the system uses this information that you can see at this address. Have there been any permits? Have there been any licenses or utility bills? So you can start with just a few and add other ones down the road, but the underlying database would be properties and owners for the general government. So let's take a look at the building permit module. First of all, if you look at the toolbar, it's like any other Microsoft product. We've got a couple of ways that you can get help. If you've got a question, you simply hit the phone, log a support call. We know what application, we know what menu option, so that you can tell us a question and you can electronically submit the call. And you could give us, or you could say, give me an email response. You can also call us and we call you back. But let's say you've got a quick question. You can hit support online, and you can actually hit get help now, and you can chat with an operator. So if you've got just a quick little question, there are support reps that man this queue so that we can answer those questions as quickly as possible right in the software. The nice thing about everything that you're going to see today is the look and feel is the same. So if you've added other Assist modules, the way our menus are, they're identical in building permits as well. Things you do on a daily basis, that's going to be under the daily tab. We have a tab for reports, inquiries, and also tables, and this is where you get started, and we'll take a look at all of these today. So let's go ahead and take a look at the information that we can track on your permits. First of all, what do you know? When you're searching the database, if you know just a little bit of information, for instance, you might want to search by type of permit. You could include or exclude expired permits. We even have a code for projects. You can group permits together based on a project code that you define. We can look up based on address, and here's that property ID. So if you know the property ID number, we can pull all the permits for that particular address, owner, status, or legal description. So any combination, we can search the database. Now, as I mentioned, on one screen, you're going to be able to see everything about this permit. You've got the same user interface, so the navigation is just like using Word or Excel. In the setup, a question is going to be, do you want the system to automatically assign the permit number? That's up to you. You're going to also define in the tables what types of permits do you need to track. It's easy to add new, it's easy to make changes to the different types that you have. And we'll take a look at the tables so that you can see how you define what do you want to call your permit, what are your fees, how do you calculate it, what are the required inspections. So we'll see all that later on. We also have a status code, and this is a code that you can define, and we've got the ability to very easily pull out reports based on status. I mentioned this earlier. We also have a project type. You might want to set up maybe a new subdivision or different categories, because I can pull all permits based on that type. And we also have a purpose. What's the purpose for this building permit? We also are going to track key things like the date of the application, has it been issued, has it expired, the date that it's completed. We have a few folks that actually will do a deposit, so we can track that information. And then if you are taking payments right in the permit module, we're going to track the method and fees. So that's all going to happen on the top part of the screen. Down below, we're going to track information about the specific project. What are you calling it? Do you want to use something called a master permit, where maybe multiple permits roll up to the master? We can also calculate permits based on, square footage or construction value. Once you type in the address, we're going to look at the property ID and bring in the parcel number, or vice versa. But this is where you can define the actual permit. Under reviews and floor area, you get to actually define, well, what types of reviews do you have, or what type of information do you want to track on the floor area? All of these are unlimited text, so you can really define that information. We do keep track of the final inspection date and then the occupancy date as well, so that's tracked on this tab. Contacts, we can bring in contractors. We even have reports that I can get all permits for a certain contractor. Inspections, this is going to track not only what are the required inspections, the fees, but you can also track the status individually. So you may have some that pass, some that don't pass, but we are going to track when is it scheduled, so that it's going to show up on your to-do list. The date it was completed. We also have a drop down for inspectors, and once again, unlimited text on the notes, so you can really document what you did with this permit. We also have something called actions, and we use actions with most of our assist modules like utilities and tax, where you can create a code which is a specific event. You get a timestamp it. You've got unlimited text to describe the comments and the reference number, so you can really document what happened, and you can have as many codes, and it's kind of a log of events for this permit. So if you ever have to go back to it, you've got your documentation. Legal description, we're actually going to bring that in from that property file. So if it's on the county file, we're going to populate this screen with the legal description. We also have the ability to do an attachment. It works the same in all the applications. Anything you can attach in an email, you can attach to your Assist database. So you simply hit add. It brings up a calendar, so you can default to today's date, a description of what you're adding, and then you just attach the electronic file. So you might want to attach an inspection report that you did, scan and attach it, or pictures, or any electronic file that you might want to attach. Now this is an option, AR. We have some clients that will actually invoice for the permit, so that there's a balance. They send out the invoice, they age it if it's not paid. So that's an option you can turn on or off in the setup if you're using our current AR module. If not, you certainly don't have to use it, but it is integrated. And then you might even have other fees set up. So in addition to the standard permit fees, you can add on some other fees onto this record as well. And we've got 5 user definable fields, and as I mentioned, all 5 of these have unlimited text. So all that happens here on this screen. One other thing I want to point out is the way that we do our letters and our permits, it's a mail merge with Microsoft Word. So if I want to do a letter, I can pick a permit, I can do a document where it does a mail merge. So you're able to create your permit in Word and merge in data from the database that you've already keyed in. So we felt that Microsoft Word is the best tool, so that when you do need to change the form, you're changing it very easily, and then going forward we'll do the merge. So that all happens here on this screen. This is where you're telling the system information about the permit, the fees, the inspections, and then we're going to have reports so that you can report on what's happening. So that's under daily. Reports, we've got a lot of really good reports. All of these reports, you've got unlimited history. So for instance, if I want to get a list of permits within a date range, I can pull that information. I can further say, well, maybe this date range within this dollar amount, or maybe a certain type of permit, or maybe just for a certain project. Give me all the permits for this new subdivision or this new condo, or this address, bring in the permits, or for this owner or for this particular contractor. So lots of ways to get a listing. All the reports you can print to the screen. I've got options to email, go to Excel, go to Word. So once again, if you like Microsoft, you're going to like the Assist software. So very easy to pull this information out. Other reports, we've got a status report. You define the status. So it's your code. If you want to get a quick listing based on your status code, I can pull a list. We even age permits. That's an option in the setup if you want to age that permit. Ones that are unissued. I also have this report that you might want to run for your council. Show me all the permits that you issued within a time period. Or maybe they only care about certain types of permits. And I can very easily run this report, and it's going to break out all the different fees, the value, the permit fee, and all those different fees that you've set up for any point in time. And once again, you've got your same user interface. I can also get a list on what permits need inspection. So this is your to-do list. If you schedule it, you can run this report, let's say for today, and I can get a listing of all the permits, or what do I need to do on Monday. I do produce a list of expired permits. I've got inspection reports so that you can, key in the information. We also have the ability to pull an inspection report for a certain address. And we also have a construction report, and permits that weren't approved. So lots of good information here that you can pull out. I can even do reporting on those user definable fields that you've set up. Now, inquiry. This is the inquiry that you can get to if you know their name or the address, or you can get to it here. And the difference is this is look only, so you're not making changes. So if you want to give access to somebody just to this menu option, you can do that, and you can pull out a list, grab the one you want to see, and you can't make changes, but they're able to see all the information. Now, tables. This is actually where you get started. This is where you're going to make decisions, such as in the beginning, you're going to want to decide, those user definable fields. Do you want your contractor to require a license? We have a link with business license. Do you want to link it to AR? Do you want to, how do you want to set up, these fields? So lots of ways, and, how do you want it to define, your permit number as well. So that all happens here, and here are the user definable fields. You can also define your different types of inspections. Probably the most important table is where you're defining your permits, because you get to make a lot of decisions. What do you want to call it? How do you want to calculate it? We've got several different ways that you can set this up. Flat rate, part of construction, value, area step, construction value step. So lots of functionality on exactly how you want this to work. We also have different GL accounts that you can set up. So if you're using our general ledger, it's going to update, and you can see what came in from building permits. You can also define here the required inspections. Are there fees? You've already told it that. And then the accounting, and if there's any other fees. So it's easy to add new permits. It's easy to make changes as well. But other things, you define your types, your categories. So once you set your tables up, it's very easy to move forward. But thank you for your time today. If you'd like to learn more about the product, please give us a call.